From the Cronkite studios in downtown Phoenix, this is Cronkite News.
Coming up, people showing up outside the city council meeting to make their voices heard. They're calling for action after that controversial Phoenix police video was seen around the world.
Also, the emotional community meeting with the Phoenix mayor and police chief. The gathering lasted for nearly 3 hours. And
red, blue, and purple? New colors just spotted on Mars. What scientists are saying about this new discovery.
Cronkite News starts now.
Good evening and welcome to Cronkite News on Arizona PBS. I'm Jesse Jopali.
And I'm Matt Hogeson. Thank you for joining us. Tensions remain high between the public and the city of Phoenix in the wake of that contentious encounter between a family and police. Today, a series of rallies were held in downtown Phoenix.
Our team is out in the field to get the full story on what's happening. We go live with Kyla Wilcher outside City Hall. Kyla?
Now, the rally started a few hours before the city council meetings even got underway. So many people filled the chambers that an overflow room had to be used to fit all the protesters here to voice their concerns.
No, what do we think?
Our demand is that they vote no on this budget, and that the council members have the courage to demand that these officers be fired, and that there is an implementation plan for all these recommendations before they take on and try to vote on the budget again.
We cannot pass the budget until there is a formalized process for police officers that violate any kind of civil rights, anytime that a police oversteps its bounds, that there is a formal process to prosecution.
Kate is only in office until November, and we can make things happen. If it means threatening their seats and throttling their money, we will go as far as we have to do so.
The rallies went by before the city council meeting without any major incidents being reported. From downtown Phoenix, I'm Kyla Wilcher, Cronkite News.
Dozens of people were inside the city council chambers waiting to see if council members would address the video.
Councilmember Sal DeCiccio pushed back against the protesters.
Calling the police officers rapists, murderers is wrong, and you're hurting them. You're not a group. The city does not believe this. The city does not believe this stuff, and that's just what it is. And I think that there needs to be another side of this. There needs to be another side of the public that shows that what is being done here today is a travesty. It's attacking their families. It's attacking everybody else, and it's wrong. If you want to be polite, they're not murderers and they're not wrong. If you want to talk about process, you talk about that, but you do not call them names.
Last night, city leaders met with the community at a Valley Church. Tanaya Williamson is live in downtown Phoenix with more.
Members of the community were given the opportunity to make their voices heard. Many questions were asked and promises were made to them. While members of the community made their voices be heard outside of Phoenix's Pilgrim Rest Baptist Church.
I was disturbed by the recent news about how people of color were treated by the Phoenix police.
Well, good evening, Pastor Mackey.
Inside, city leaders, including Chief of Police Jerry Williams, tried to address the concerns expressed by those who filled the house of worship.
Real change doesn't start with the police department. Real change starts with our community.
The 2,500-seat church filled with people who wanted to discuss the actions of several Phoenix police officers seen on this cell phone video, as they yelled profanities and pointed their guns at Drayvon Ames, his fiancée Aisha, and their 2 young daughters.
We see Jacob Harris' family, Edward Brown. There's this happening all over the world, and we are so lucky to be alive right now. They're so lucky for the bystanders who in the community said, hey, stop that. They spoke up. They stopped those officers.
Mayor Kate Gallego spoke briefly and offered few details as to what the next steps will be.
I am deeply sorry for the events that led us here today. I asked for this community meeting and Chief Williams' presence so that we would have a chance to listen to your thoughts.
Members of the community say they want to see real action and change on behalf of city officials.
You know, I'm not gonna give a pat on the back to anybody. right? This conversation is long overdue.
My son asked me the other day, because he's still traumatized from seeing the guns in his face, so he wanted to know if the cops were going to kill me or just take me to jail the next time they stop me.
Today, we spoke with the NAACP East Valley's president, and we discussed what his organization's hopes are for some positive next steps going forward.
What we hope to see is a clarification of the process. When a complaint is filed, how is that handled? When an officer has repeatedly violated or been extremely violent or has a track record of violence, how is that handled? What is the firing process if an officer needs to be fired or a bad actor needs to be fired or disciplined? Is the chief at the mercy of the police union? And so the chief needs to have the power to actually fire bad officers.
We will have a complete wrap-up of what happened in City Council in tomorrow's broadcast. Reporting live in downtown Phoenix, Tanaya Williamson, Cronkite News.
If you were in downtown Phoenix this morning, you may have heard helicopters and saw an increased police presence. Cronkite News reporter Amanda Slee explains this was all part of a national security conference.
Phoenix first responder teams are taking a break from the meetings and demonstrations inside to step into SWAT cars like this to do a terrorist demonstration outside.
The scene is this. Phoenix first responders get intel that a small group of domestic terrorists are targeting a hospital. A suspect vehicle flies down 3rd Street outside the convention center, and choppers land with SWAT teams rushing inside a nearby building. Phoenix Fire, hazmat crews, and a robot work the scene where the driver is stopped. Phoenix Fire Captain Rob McDade hopes this demonstration shows the public they don't need to worry.
With your tax dollars that you use, that you pay, that we've got you protected, and that indeed we do have a plan for anything, God forbid, that could happen.
McDade also says it's important to be prepared.
When you look at Phoenix, we're a city that hosts Final Fours, All-Star games, and the Super Bowl. So we need to show them that for any major emergency that could happen, we're prepared for it. We're going to show them what we can do in a moment's notice because it happens so quickly. If there's a terrorist act, we need to show them that we are indeed prepared.
The demonstration is part of the National Homeland Security Conference, and it's brought public safety personnel together from around the world to network and share tips.
Preparing here is, talking, learning, collaborating, seeing what others are doing. So maybe it's not being done in your hometown, but now we take it back and we can start implementing whatever that action might be in your own hometown to make sure we're doing the best.
In downtown Phoenix, Amanda Slee, Cronkite News.
The exact tactics used to secure the simulated terrorist vehicle were hidden from media cameras. That's because these tactics are meant to be kept confidential for security reasons.
An emergency border funding deal has been reached between party leaders in the U.S. Senate. The agreement is worth $4.6 billion to address the influx of migrants at the southern border. Senator Chuck Schumer gave his remarks. The agreement includes $2.8 billion from the Department of Health and Human Services to be directed to the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said he plans to put it on the Senate floor by the end of next week.
I think everybody is now convinced that we have an emergency at the border, a humanitarian crisis.
The agreement does not have the final sign-off from House Democrats, who blocked consideration of a similar deal last month.
Coming up, the Navajo Nation got a little spark.
Find out about a special project that brought utility crews from all over the country to connect homes in the Navajo Nation to the electric grid.
Also, the Grand Canyon is a beautiful landmark, but officials say it needs all kinds of repairs. And how much will they cost? Find out after the break.
Cronkite Noticias is the Spanish-speaking division of Cronkite News, covering topics such as economics, education, sustainability, immigration, and border relations. Cronkite Noticias strives to serve the Spanish-speaking community in Arizona. Under the guidance of prominent Spanish-speaking professionals, students at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism develop content for our broadcast partner, Univision, as well as on Facebook and Twitter. Explore Cronkite Noticias at cronkitenoticias.azpbs.org.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
I had swore I was not going to watch the Vietnam War because I could remember the day I watched us finally get the helicopters out thinking, okay, it's over, and then went to my college class. Next thing I know, I'm watching Ken Burns' Vietnam. And the thing that caught me so much was how he was talking to the winners, and this North Vietnamese general said, there's no winners in a war. That just stopped me dead in my tracks.
For more information about including Arizona PBS in your future plans, visit azpbs.org/giving.
More than 200 homes on the Navajo Nation have been connected to the electric grid as part of a pilot project.
The Navajo Tribal Utility Authority worked with crews from across the country on a project that ended this month.
Volunteer crews from 13 states ran more than 50 miles of electric line from April through May. The goal had been to connect 300 homes on the reservation, where 15,000 homes don't have power. So far, they've connected 233. The tribal utility worked with the American Public Power Association to create this project. Both are hoping it can be used as a model for the future. An emergency proposal being considered by state regulators would change the rules for regulated Arizona electric utility companies. It would prevent them from disconnecting power to customers who are late on their bills from June 1st through September 30th. The proposal comes less than a week after it became known a 72-year-old woman from Sun City West died from heat-related causes. Her power had been disconnected last September. The commission is set to consider the plan on Thursday, and the emergency rules would take effect immediately if they are approved. All 5 commissioners appear to be supportive of the proposal.
Pima County won't have a new budget at the start of the new fiscal year. The Board of Supervisors decided to delay a vote on the budget for at least a month. The board wants to consider different ideas to help reduce the cost of property values for taxpayers.
The Environmental Protection Agency says states can set their own carbon emission standards for coal-fired power plants. But the EPA warns the rule could result in 1,400 more premature deaths by 2030. This new plan will replace the Obama-era plan and fulfill part of President Trump's promise to help the coal industry. However, it will likely face challenges from environmental groups in several states who see this as detrimental to clean air efforts.
National parks in Arizona attract millions of visitors a year, making them vital to the state's economy. But all those visitors mean wear and tear on the parks, wear and tear that carries a big bill. Who pays was the question of a Senate hearing yesterday, as Julian Barras reports from our Washington bureau.
The Grand Canyon is a spectacle in its own right, an enormous landscape that attracts millions of visitors every year. But the canyon has a $314 million problem. That's the cost of repairs the park needs. Liz Archuleta thinks the canyon, which she calls the crown jewel of national parks, deserves better.
I feel like our delegation from Arizona knows the issue very well in terms of deferred maintenance of parks, and Grand Canyon National Park being the crown jewel of parks, they're very familiar with what the needs are.
Those needs are just part of the $507 million in deferred maintenance at national parks in Arizona, which is just a fraction of the $12 billion backlog nationally. Archuleta was among witnesses at a Senate hearing yesterday that grappled with the problem of aging and worn park facilities, like the Grand Canyon's main water pipeline.
The pipeline was built in the 1960s and it was supposed to last 40 years. And so as you can see, it's way behind its time in terms of being fixed and being reconstructed.
While witnesses and senators both recognized the problem, few had answers. But one senator said park users should be part of the solution.
If we really care about this issue, we should consider user fees to apply to all those to whom they ordinarily apply.
The Louisiana senator worried that funds to fix the nation's parks might be taken from deserving projects in Gulf Coast communities.
I'm a little bit, what's the word, less convinced about crocodile tears for our parks when people will not assess appropriate user fees on those using those parks to defray this expense.
Witnesses offered some possible solutions, including public-private partnerships. And Archuleta proposed extending the season on the canyon's north rim to bring in more revenue. But she says her message to Washington is that the federal government has a responsibility as well as local supporters.
My goal is to make sure that the federal government meets its responsibility in maintaining our parks.
In Washington, Julian Paras, Cronkite News.
The $12 billion parks backlog is just part of the state funding shortfall lawmakers were looking at. The tab exceeds $19.4 billion once lands controlled by the Bureau of Land Management. The Forest Service and the Fish and Wildlife Service are also included.
Coming up next, should Mars still be considered a red planet?
Scientists say they are starting to see blue and purple colors. We'll tell you more.
I'm Judy Woodruff, anchor and managing editor of the PBS NewsHour. The journalists of tomorrow face a fast-changing media landscape, but quality news remains vitally important to our communities, our country, and our world. At ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication, students learn solid, reliable reporting, holding the powerful accountable, and rebuilding the public's trust. The Cronkite School and Arizona PBS, preparing the next generation for a stronger future of journalism.
With wildfires, a scarcity of water, and other environmental issues facing the Earth today, it's critical to stay up to date with local impacts of a changing climate. That's why we created Elemental, covering sustainability, a multimedia collaboration between public television and radio stations. From climate change to water conservation to renewable energy and much more, Elemental covers the latest in sustainability news. Find our stories on our website, elementalreports.com.
Cronkite News, weeknights at 5 on Arizona PBS.
As journalists at Cronkite News, we report on stories that matter to you by focusing on the local impact. We dig deeper and work tirelessly to keep you informed.
Live in Wickerburg.
Live in Los Angeles.
In Cleveland.
In Washington.
In Louisville. From Jerusalem. Live in Philadelphia.
From around the world to right here in Phoenix.
At Cronkite News, we report the facts and stick to the truth.
According to NASA's new image of the fourth planet from the sun, there appears to be signs of blue and purple on Mars.
A scientist from the University of Arizona says the blue might come from quote-unquote water ice. However, a scientist from the Mars Reconnaissance Rover says the blue just could be an optical illusion. Officials say the crater, which is about 16 meters wide, probably formed sometime between September of 2016 and February of this year.
More updates on the Woodbury fire located in the Superstition Mountains. As of today, the fire is said to be 15% contained. Crews are making progress because on Tuesday, the fire was at 0% containment. More than 700 people are helping to fight the fire. The fast-moving flames are burning almost 45,000 acres of land, but the fire hasn't burned down any homes or structures.
We're sure feeling the heat outside, but is there any relief in sight?
Nikisha Johnson is tracking the forecast for us. Good evening and thanks for tuning in to Cronkite News. Currently our temperatures here in Phoenix are 103 degrees with winds of 7 miles per hour. Looking at tomorrow throughout the day, we will start off at 8 a.m. with 82 degrees. By noon, we will hit 96, and at 4 p.m. we will hit 102. However, that is not our high for tomorrow. Our high for tomorrow is 104, as well as Tempe and Chandler. Mesa and Queen Creek will get up to 103, while Scottsdale and Surprise will hit 102. Looking at the next couple days, again, our high tomorrow is 104. While we go into Friday and Saturday, those temperatures will start decreasing. Saturday, our high will be 98. However, when we hit Sunday, we will get back up into those triple digits, all the way up to 105 on Wednesday. Our lows will be those mid-70s throughout the week. Our weather reporter, Emmy, mentioned earlier this week that we are in monsoon season. I hope that most of you are prepared. If not, don't worry. We have an article on our webpage we did a couple weeks ago on tips to prepare for monsoon season. I hope that we all are ready for the storms to come. I'm Nikisha Johnson with Cronkite News. No signs of slowing down. MLB players racking up home runs.
They're setting new records, and the D-backs are helping the trend. What the team has to say about their success coming up.
Stay in the know on the go. At Cronkite News, we work hard to report the facts and keep you updated, whether we're on set or on the scene.
Taking it from the studio to the field. So I'm here in South Phoenix.
In Phoenix, we're just a click away. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, or find us online at cronkitenews.azpbs.org.
By the year 2050, there will be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Before Professor Halden, I had an insane amount of passion, but I almost felt helpless because I didn't know how to use it. Professor Halden gave me a chance to make a difference. Being at a place like ASU allows you to take these big leaps. Ultimately, the biggest problems in the world cannot be solved alone.
I'm Matt Berry, ESPN Sports Center anchor and graduate of ASU's Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communication. With its bachelor's and master's degrees in sports journalism, the Cronkite School is preparing the next generation of sports journalists to tell stories that matter, stories that excite, inspire, and inform. Cronkite immerses students in covering sports at all levels in one of the country's top sports markets. It's this hands-on experience under the guidance of award-winning sports media veterans that shape the top journalists of tomorrow.
One answer might be more home runs.
Baseballs are flying out of ballparks all over the majors. Our own Ethan Schmidt has more.
Home runs, dingers, taters, whatever someone may call them, they're happening a lot. The game of baseball is evolving fast, and there's no signs of slowing down anytime soon.
Look, it's all about putting points on the board and scoring runs, and however you're doing it, however we're doing it, however anybody's doing it, I know that it's helping us win some games.
MLB set a new record for most home runs in a month with 1,135 in May. The D-backs continued the trend into June by launching 26 homers into the stands on their recent 10-game road trip.
It doesn't surprise me because that's what we do, that's what we practice, that's what we were practicing the whole spring training. trying to score as many runs that we can and do this little thing and work as a team.
The D-backs were even able to change a few record books with the hot road bats. Arizona set a new franchise mark with 8 homers in one game against the Philadelphia Phillies that actually concluded with an MLB record 13 homers combined.
It was crazy, when you think about how long baseball's been around, and to be a part of a game where the most home runs ever were hit in a game, it's pretty special. It was a weird game. I think there was like 6 or 7 homers in the first couple innings.
When you're talking about doing things like that, as I always say, the records I know are meant to be broken, but when you're breaking them, it's pretty fun.
MLB sluggers have already combined for over 600 home runs just halfway through June. In Phoenix, Ethan Schmidt, Cronkite News.
The Major League Baseball record for most home runs in a season is 6,105. That was set back in 2017. However, with the increasing numbers this year, the league is on pace to shatter that mark yet again, and they may have to start using a pencil in some record books.
Cronkite News is proud to be the news division of Arizona PBS. Here's what's coming up on Arizona Horizon.
On the next Arizona Horizon, the GI Bill turns 75. We'll hear about the Arizonan who helped create the law that's helped generations of veterans. And new research looks to find the perfect asphalt by using recycled materials.
That's it for Cronkite News tonight. Thanks for joining us.
For top Arizona stories anytime, go to cronkitenews.azpbs.org.